A Dream Deferred in a Concrete Jungle, a flash fiction by D.G. James. The dim streetlight outside painted a sepia tint on the peeling wallpaper in Leroy's Brooklyn apartment. Each day, the memories of Jamaica grew more vibrant, clashing starkly with the muted colors of his current life. The distance between the vibrant island and this towering city seemed immeasurable. He was startled by a knock on his door. Mrs. Johnson, a once vivacious woman now with shadows under her eyes, stood there. She carried the weight of a decade in America, each year adding another layer of longing for home. "Leroy, your face looked drawn out. What really a trouble you, boy?" she asked, a worried note in her voice. Leroy sighed deeply. "Me no know how to adjust, Mrs. Johnson. Back home, even when the rain no stop fall, we still find reason for smile. But yeah, so everything just feel stifled." She nodded understandingly. "Me know why yo mean. When me first came ya, me think the streets houlda shine bright like gold. Instead, dem gray and crowded. The hustling never stop. And the cold, no mention the wintertime, my skin still no used to it." "And the food," Leroy exclaimed. "Everything tastes so artificial. Me miss the realness of our food. The real jerk chicken cooked over pimento wood, the fresh fish straight from the sea." Mrs. Johnson chuckled. "Don't remind me. But remember, every place have its good and bad. Yeah, so me pickney them get education opportunities we couldn't dream of back home, and health care better. But still, me heart yearn for the simplicities of home." Leroy leaned in. "And the community. Mrs. Johnson, me remember days when if you never have salt, you could just ask your neighbor. Over here, people live side by side for years and don't even know each other's names." She placed her hand on his shoulder. "It hard, Leroy, but remember, we have to be the change we want to see. We have to bring our warmth, our community, our culture to this place. It won't be Jamaica, but it can be a home." He met her gaze, seeing the blend of sorrow and determination there. "You're right. We might be here, but we can keep Jamaica alive in our hearts and action." They sat together, reminiscing about their island, the laughter, the warmth, the community. It was a balm to their souls, this shared connection to a place they loved. After a while, Mrs. Johnson stood up, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Leroy, me have an idea. Why don't we start a little gathering? Every weekend, Jamaicans in the building come together, share stories, food, music, make this concrete place feel a little more like home." Leroy's eyes brightened at the idea. "That sounds good. We should do it." And so, amidst the concrete and steel, a small pocket of Jamaica began to flourish, reminding its members of the island they held dear and teaching others the beauty of its culture. Thank you for listening to this flash fiction from Fiwi Books. The story was written by D.G. James. For more stories like this, visit www.fiweh.com.